Hello there, Stephen.
Hi, Stephen. Here's a little bit of a tutorial on, or I should say, a little overview of Auphonic, AUPHONIC.com. This is my account. This is one of the recent things I've worked on. I got this all set up for you to make this video a little shorter rather than having to hunt and peck, except for maybe the words I'm going to be using to speak with you, to speak to you, or whatever. Okay, so this is Puss in Boots. This is actually the most recent of all the audiobooks, the children's audiobooks, and I worked on. And what happened is, here's what. Let me show you. Spoiler alert there. But anyway, this is what I came up with as far as the audio when I recorded it after I did the editing, but before I did any processing. And you can see you have some things that are
clear, a quiet ache, like a song.
That, like some of those way down here, some of it's
You must step forward.
Full and perceptive. And perceptive.
I mean, even from that to that, you can hear the change in volume there. So
without being asked.
Or we have
the young man blinked.
So that quite a bit of difference there, quite a bit of difference. And normally what I do is I go through this and I'll show you what I normally do. I usually use normalization, and that brings everything up to the tippity top of the highest peak, but then it leaves all of these way down here. So I asked Google if there was an AI solution for a DAW where I could, like a plug-in or something, where I could normalize everything like this here, but everything fairly equally, but without using compression. Because if I use compression, as you probably know, yeah, we could use compression and we could accomplish basically the same thing, then we normalize that. But then
when we use our gifts to help others,
it's too punchy. I think it's just a little too punchy. So I wanted to find a way to more equally normalize without compression. Let me undo this. Or I could just, okay. Well, anyway, so I used this Auphonic. I found this and you can see the difference. You can see how leveled that is compared to this. And this is the way it came out. I did some editing after this to get rid of and by the way, I noticed there's some peaks here.
Suggest. The young man stepped forward. He knelt and pressed his same quiet,
but all of it
mild. This was the moment.
Is quite
through strength.
Like if it peaks, like it shows those little hairs picking up, it does. It's acceptable.
Would you? The young man stepped forward. He knelt and
yeah, I could have taken that down. By the way, I've already released the book, so it's not perfect, but it's much better, and it's very nice audio. I don't know if it compresses it maybe a little bit or does something else, but the audio, even though it looks like it's kind of clipped or going to be distorted, but it isn't.
The cat ran ahead to,
and it's got a little bit of a punch to it. It's a little bit of compression, but it's done with AI. But you have to do it online, so I can't, unfortunately, do it with all of my auditions. My auditions are confidential. I'd love to do this with some of my auditions, especially the longer ones, but at least most of them are much shorter than this. But this is good and long, and it's public domain, so it doesn't matter if this gets out. If somebody steals this and releases the book before I do, that could be a problem, but it's not going to happen. So anyway, there it is. Now let me show you. The last thing is how the productions. Here we go. Let me show you. I'll bring you back. I'll pause this. Okay, new production. There we go. Now let me show you all this. And I wish I understood this better. Maybe you could make even a better file, but You put in your file here. I'm not going to do it, but let's say I put in one of my files, that I want to work on, one of my children's books or whatever, and then you can do basic metadata, which doesn't matter to me. Chapter marks. What's this? Wow. I've never even really looked at all this, but you can do that. What kind of output file? This took me a while. I found that with my DAW, I couldn't do Wave 24-bit, although I can edit with Wave that's 24-bit. I can. But when I try to output it at 24-bit when I try to open it with my DAW, it only opens it with my newer DAW, not my old one, my legacy one that I like. But I only need 16-bit anyway. The final is 16-bit to match the music that I have for the audiobook. So I just go Wave, 16-bit, and you can go optimal stereo. You can that's that. You can change it to mono, but I need I need it to be 2-channel because I put music in there that's stereo. Add output file. I'm not sure. Oh, you can have it do 2. You can do it multiple files. You can have an MP3 and a Wave. I don't need that, but that's very cool. See, there's things I don't even know. Speech recognition. Huh. Auphonic whisper ASR. Automatic. I don't know exactly what that would do. Register our service first. Register. Okay, so publishing external services. Huh. Anyway, there's a lot of things you can do. Now, what I usually do is I usually don't, and I try to do it. I just want what I want. I don't want to add too many other things. So I usually do leave this. That's what I mainly want this for. I think I usually do that as well, but I take out the noise reduction. Yeah, I don't have noise. See, you can add that, but I usually don't have that. And then you can see there's a lot. And then once you put your file in, then you go start full production. And in a couple minutes, it's done. All right, that gives you an idea. You saw the before and after, and although it might look kind of ugly,
Big foundations. And build
it adds a little bit of balls to it. It does. I think it's maybe an AI form of compression. It says vocal leveling, and it does seem to add a little punch, but not over the top. And I really like what it does. There you go. Thank you for watching. Cheers.